chief of staff to the CEO of Hotstar. You went to LSE, Bain, Kellogg, and yet you came back to start a sneaker brand. What exactly is your strategy to crack Instagram?
Our drops are extremely sought after. It's only on our Instagram, and people will put alarms at 6 p.m. and by 6:15, almost all of it will sell out.
Oh wow.
I think we can decode what is cool.
Yeah, what is cool?
I have a principle in my marketing team. We will never use a skateboard and a basketball to ever make this brand cool. असली में cool बनाते हैं यार. Mango जूता बनाते हैं, scribble बनाते हैं, कुछ ऐसा बनाते हैं जो लोग देख के बोले क्या बना दिया इन लोग ने.
You chose not to scale on Amazon or Flipkart.
I wanted to take the Apple strategy, which is
Oh,
unfortunately we could not sustain that. We even flew down people from Taiwan for that.
how do you price your product right? If you price it lower, you're losing money.
Yeah.
If you price it higher, you're losing customers.
My philosophy is कि यार the first digit of the pricing makes up 90% of your decision. 3 है, 4 है, 5 है, 6 है.
If somebody decides to enter this business, what are the biggest traps that they must avoid?
Number one is
You know, while we were talking to Utkarsh about Comet shoe, I realized something very important. Every time they launch a new shoe, there is a huge line of people waiting to grab it. The staff is running around, the POS is constantly ringing, and for those few hours, the entire store feels like madness. And that's when it occurred to me that running a shop is insanely hard. You are tracking orders at the counter, managing staff schedules, handling cash and UPI, and trying to make sure that not a single customer walks out frustrated. All of this leads to missed sales and a constant sense of chaos. This is exactly where Odoo comes in. Odoo's point of sale shop helps you manage your offline or retail business very easily. Products are neatly categorized with color codes to help you organize better. And you can get full details of the product from the product list. You can run product combos, set presets to handle rush, and the POS shop stores the details for every customer so that you can run marketing and loyalty programs like discounts or rewards. It lets you track and update inventory in real time across multiple locations so that you never run out of stock right when demand is at its peak. Odoo connects with payment terminals to streamline payments and also gives you a clean view of daily sales across cash, card, and UPI. If you're running a franchise, you can pre-configure stores and centrally manage their stock and payments. If you want to automate payments, customers can self-order from a kiosk. And the best part is that you can get started with Odoo for free using the link in the description. And as your business scales, you can access the full suite for just 580 rupees per user per month. So if you want to manage the madness in your shop, click the link in the description and get started with Odoo POS today. Hi Utkarsh. For today's podcast, not just me, my entire team is excited to have you, which is why, as you can see on the set, we've got your shoes here. They are some of the most beautiful pairs of shoes I have seen. So thank you so much for being here on the podcast. And I'm just fascinated by your brand for multiple reasons. As soon as I told my team that Utkarsh is going to be here, they didn't have a reaction. But as soon as I told them that you run Comet, they were excited. And I also read this story where there were 200 people standing outside your store. The Apple store guy came out and was like, guys, हमारा कोई सेल नहीं चल रहा है. तो उन्होंने बोला कि अरे भाई तेरे सेल के लिए नहीं, हम Comet के सेल के लिए खड़े हैं. That's a testament to the kind of brand that you've built. And for all the people who are watching this episode, I want them to learn how to build a cult following in a crowded market.
yeah.
That's the agenda for today's podcast. Shall we get started?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Utkarsh, firstly, when I looked at your history, I saw that you were the chief of staff to the CEO of Hotstar. You went to LSE, Bain, Kellogg, and yet you came back to start a sneaker brand. Now, do you realize you were already successful by every Indian metric, and yet you came back to build a sneaker brand in India? Why?
So I've always wanted to build something of my own. If you look at all my decisions that I've taken, they've sort of led to this moment. I joined a consulting company from my undergrad because I was like, I want to learn how a business is done. When you're in college, you don't really understand how the work, environment works. And so I got this job at Bain, got into consulting. Then I wanted to go closer to a founder of a startup. That's why I took the chief of staff gig at Hotstar, learned a lot from Ajit Mohan, who was the founder CEO of Hotstar. And then I went to business school to Kellogg And I always joke that I ended up doing an MBA in sneakers instead.
MBA in sneakers.
Yeah.
How?
My roommate was a Canadian guy, big sneakerhead. I used to feel ashamed saying I know sneakers in front of him. He only came to business school to get a job at Nike. And he only applied to New Balance and Nike, got a job at Nike in Portland, even till today works there. So it's been 4.5 years. Both of us, we used to just live, breathe shoes in the community of Chicago. And Chicago is a fantastic place for this, right? Like it's the hotbed of sneaker culture. That's where Michael Jordan used to play basketball. That's where Kanye West started his career. And of course, like Adidas's answer to Jordans was Yeezys by Kanye West. So the sneaker culture there was very strong. And I used to think of myself as a fly on the wall. I could not empathize like them about Michael Jordan, about Kanye West as much. You know, it was just fandom, but not those emotions that we feel for our stories. But I used to be super fascinated. I used to be like, why are people lining up? Why are people like putting alarms and like buying sneakers? But most importantly, what I saw and what I was missing when I would go back to India was like this fascination of storytelling of on shoes as a canvas. You know, you can take a story and you can print it on a t-shirt, and that's abundantly visible. You can see this everywhere. But to take a story and put it on a shoe is so rare.
Yeah.
Because it's so hard to do. And that was completely missing in India. So when I came back, I honestly started indulging myself. I was like, what if I had to build a sneaker brand in India? And I would do this as a side project. I would just start writing stuff down, you know, like what would a sneaker brand in India look like? And all the meantime, I'm like trying to think about my tech startup. And then one day I was like, what am I doing? This is the part which excites me the most, the sneaker part. Why am I indulging in tech? Like, why? Like, just because I decided 3 years back? This is where my passion is. This is where I can see a gap in the market. This is where, just like me, I know a lot of people would love this. So then I went into sneakers, and it took us like a year, and then we launched. So that, yeah.
I want to understand what is so special about sneakers.
Yeah.
Shoes are a commodity. And I still remember there's this video of Steve Jobs from 1996 where he speaks about Nike's iconic branding. And that's where he says that Nike sells shoes. They sell a commodity. And yet, when you think of Nike, you can feel something. My question is, where does that feeling come from and what's the logic behind it?
Everybody gravitates towards powerful stories, right? And generally, a medium on which a powerful story can be told, which is rare and can still do justice to, will be more interesting for people. Now you can take a very different type of story and put it on shoes, which is of a pop artist, music. You can take a restaurant and put it on a shoe. And these are all unexpected things that you don't think about when you think about a utility product like shoes, which was just supposed to be a commodity that you would wear on your feet and walk. The second thing is, everybody in society is looking for signaling. You want to signal to people around you that you're doing well, or you're part of some subgroup, or you understand some part of culture very differently to somebody. And people use accessories for that. Like, you know, when I was growing up, then people used to wear polo t-shirts, and the logo used to keep changing. And the logo would signify like how much money you have in the bank balance, because the polo t-shirt is the same, right? Over time, like clothing branding has become minimal. You know, like now Uniqlo thrives.
Silent luxury,
right? But signaling has to happen somewhere. So it tends to happen in shoes. It tends to happen in watches. It tends to happen in bags for girls. You know, it has to happen somewhere. And the best way of signaling is not, this is the money I've paid for it. Then you would buy a 1 lakh rupee Louis Vuitton shoe. But why are people lining up for that 15,000 rupee Nike shoe globally? Because it is more powerful than just a price tag, because it has a story attached to it. Because it has some associations attached to it. It has some depth attached to it. And therefore, it is more interesting now for me to signal with in my community than just putting a price tag. So it beats that.
Got it. So you're telling me that a commodity goes on to become a badge of honor because storytelling helps people signal something that is beyond just money.
Yeah.
2 questions. Help me understand the sneaker market.
Yeah.
And in the presence of Nike and Adidas, where did you see the place for Comet?
Very good question. If I ask you the top 5 brands in the world, sector agnostic, you will say Apple, Nike, Apple, Nike, Apple, Nike.
Correct.
So now you're in the industry with a Nike and Adidas, that bigger brand. But if you go deeper, you can almost make a 2x2 here. You can make your y-axis as aspirational cool brands on the top, brands that you want to signal with, like we just spoke about signaling, and then unaspirational commoditized brands at the bottom. And then you can make your x-axis as, on the right side, attainable and affordable, and on the left side, very expensive and unaffordable. And you would see the whole Indian market sits on two quadrants, top left and bottom right. Bottom right is your commoditized Indian brands that are selling the same undifferentiated product on the same marketplace with slightly different packaging with a celebrity on it.
Bata Action Campus?
Yeah, and then you can just, I don't want to name names, but like go on Myntra and like all the brands you see there. Same formula, same product, same pricing, no signaling value whatsoever, no edge in marketing whatsoever. Commoditized. On the top left quadrant, which is very expensive yet aspirational cool, is your global product portfolio of Nike and Adidas. Not the local, the global product portfolio. And here, there's a double click. The double click is, number one, their stories are not our stories. We want the Western stories as Indians because we all aspire to something larger than us. But deep down, their stories are not our stories. Number two, they don't even think about us. Chicago as a P&L for Nike is, according to my estimates, 3 times bigger than the entire India P&L. Just Chicago, where I used to live. Right? So why in their boardrooms would they think about an Indian story? And number three, they don't send all their products, right variety of products and all to India. So you don't even have a lot to choose from. So the double click there says that these brands are not doing justice to what would eventually become India's sneaker culture. And the double click on the bottom bottom right quadrant, which is your commoditized, affordable brands, is they're very good to make revenue, to build up the market, to get people shoes. However, they're not doing the job of a sneaker brand. They're a footwear brand. They're a footwear company, let's say. They're not a sneaker brand. You can't use them for signaling. So now, in my opinion, top right is where you need to be. You need to be aspirational cool, but yet I would not say affordable because then you can't do much with your product, but attainable. I should be able to grasp and get it, right? I should be sitting in a price point where I can still do aspirational marketing, very high quality product, differentiated storytelling on product, and yet make it attainable for you. That price should unlock all of these things for me. And then I saw that, there is honestly nobody playing here in India. And therefore, the whole sneaker culture of India was empty. And this is where we come in. This was our why do we exist.
Understood. So, Comet falls in aspirational plus attainable category.
Correct.
Understood. Can you help me understand how did you decide on your core TG? Because you mentioned that sneaker culture was almost non-existent in India. As far as my understanding is concerned, to educate the audience, you require a lot of money.
Correct.
And you need to burn that money to educate people.
Correct.
My question is, when you see Chicago, you know that they are fans, and those fans can also become early adopters for your brand.
Yeah.
And from there onwards, your brand can catch up. Okay. But in India, there was no sneaker culture, apart from a bunch of folks. Then how did you penetrate this market? Walk me step by step from plan 1, which may have been the worst plan of all, to the plan that actually succeeded.
Very interestingly, like the stuff I put down on paper is actually what's still playing out. Pretty much.
It has played out?
80%, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Which means that the insight was very intuitive and like out there for everyone. It wasn't some eureka moment, very honestly. So what was it? I think the first thing I saw was sneakers as a macro trend are growing. And the second thing I saw was that the amount of content being consumed in India by Indians on people's sneaker closets, on what sneakers are selling on resale value. And, these were millions and millions of views. And for most of these people, These shoes were not even accessible.
And yet they're watching.
Yeah. Like you are watching an influencer sneaker, like look at my sneaker closet today, guys. And these are like 25 shoes I have. And you're like, oh wow, like this is so cool. I want to one day have a sneaker closet, right? So this aspiration had reached India. And it was a very latent aspiration that could not be tapped into because of, like I explained, the offerings that were available in India, right? So this was existing. This was coming post-COVID. Then there was another thing that I saw personally play out. This is anecdotal. My co-founder, Dishant, he is an IIT Bombay engineer, urban company, Harvard B School, never been into fashion, never was into shoes. I just loved interacting and working with him. So I convinced him on the sneaker idea and I was like, he'll be a fantastic partner for me. Within 2 weeks, his Instagram was completely full of shoes. That kind of a person. Why? Because I just think this category, when done well with storytelling, is somehow addictive. So now it feels like there's going to be a lot of chatter on this category in general, and you can convert people with right storytelling, right distribution, right? So then came the next step. What is the right distribution? We saw the market as, matlab agar aap honestly na, if you look at most D2C brands today, like 3 years back when I saw, everybody was playing the same thing. Same product, थोड़ी अलग packaging करो, same marketplace में जाओ, एक celebrity को डालो और बेचो. Right? And why was this happening? I'm going to just take a detour here, but just explain this. Right? Why was this happening? For centuries, for decades, distribution was everything to sell a consumer brand product. Because shelf space is limited, it is unreachable, so many cities, so many shelves. So very large companies could only reach it. And therefore, product could be standardized. But distribution was your way of victory. Small brands could not come in that. Because how will they get distribution? So cola do hi log bechenge, chips bhi do hi log bechenge, all of these things will play out. With internet, and especially with Instagram, with then Shopify coming to make your website, with these logistics partners putting up your whole warehousing system and delivery system, and now the whole thing becomes easy for someone to come and plug and play. People realized that distribution solve ho gaya, but they started adopting the same playbook. हम भी वही product बेचेंगे, हम भी थोड़ी सी अलग packaging कर लेंगे, new age, पर हम product वही बेचेंगे, पर हमारा distribution अब solve हो गया तो हम आपके पास पहुंच सकते हैं. But what they did not realize was आपके जैसे 1000 लोग भी तो वही कर सकते हैं.
Can you give me an example without taking a name?
So let's look at the beauty industry. It's a very fascinating industry where so much action is happening. But I honestly think most of the companies, like I really respect a lot of brands there, but most of the brands, most of the new startups are putting up the same product, selling on the same quick commerce or Nykaa. Right? But packaging ko thoda badal do.
With perhaps the same contract manufacturer also.
Exactly. So why should you exist? You have not answered that question as a brand.
Because you have a beautiful logo.
Yeah, because your packaging is like fascinating and yellow. Like why? Why should you exist? And why will that scale? And why will somebody else not come with a better packaging and beat you? So I think this had been playing out for a long time, right? And the next phase here had to be, you have to go back and understand your distribution, and you have to differentiate on your product. Because बहुत लोग आके same चीज कर रहे हैं already. That is the next phase of consumer brands. And that's why we find brands like Whole Truth very interesting. Because they have differentiated product and they've understood their distribution. When you are a brand, the first thing you would say is you want to go and talk to customers where you can actually tell them the story. Marketplace wo nahi hai. So you have to now build your own distribution, which means you have to sell on your own website, which means you have to acquire customers probably on Instagram, which is what we decided. And therefore, you are now going to differentiate on Instagram. And how do you crack Instagram is going to be one of the key pillars of this brand's strategy.
Really?
Yes. So some things to think about here, right? Most brands on Instagram use it as a catalog.
Yeah.
They will have, let's say, 100,000 plus followers. पर अगर आप उनका post देखोगे, without a collab post, without boosting it, they will have 20 likes, 50 likes. Generally, 10% of people who view a post like it.
One comment, both thumbs up.
Yeah.
2 thumbs up आएगा.
Yeah. तो अगर आपको 50 लाइक मिल रहे हैं ना, that's possibly 500 people have seen it. You have 100,000 followers. You don't have a distribution. You just have a catalog sitting on the internet. But you are using Instagram from an Instagram ads perspective, which is a paid channel. That's a paid distribution channel. So we thought, what is it that will make people look at our brand on Instagram? And how does it coincide with our brand philosophy? And it worked very well. It was that we will spend time on product. We can talk about that separately, but we will create a fantastic product, very high tech, very like tested out properly. The whole base will be solid and we'll do really good colorways on it. But once in a while, we will put out a very eclectic shoe as a colorway, but as a drop with full of stories. So the first shoe we ever launched was a mango shoe. And why did we launch a mango shoe? I think the thing I thought about Instagram was, आप scroll करते रहते हो, आपके पास इतना content है. It's full of noise. In that same Steve Jobs speech when he spoke about the whole Nike thing, he said this world is full of noise.
Yeah.
And you only get a very small chance to put your word out there.
Correct.
Right? He said that. That was a fantastic speech, by the way. So in that same speech that you spoke about, that Steve Jobs gave, he also talked about in this world, there's a lot of noise and you get a very small chance to put your word out there, right? So it was a fantastic speech there. So in the same way on Instagram, there is so much content being thrown at people. When you're scrolling, you have to put something out there that will make them stop. And I know for a fact, however good a shoe I make in terms of technology, in terms of materials, design, like basic nice brown shoe, very hard that you will stop with all this noise in it, right? I will make a very solid brown shoe with really good tech, but that is going to come in later in the customer journey. The first part is, how do I get you fascinated about the brand? And therefore comes the mango shoe. It's an emotion that every Indian thinks about and you smile. Mango, aam bolo, everybody's like, yes, man, mangoes. Like it's a India-wide emotion.
It's an emotion in India.
Yeah.
Just like cricket.
Just like cricket. It should be part of the whole Bollywood cricket mangoes. So, like what we did was, we made a box that looked like a new age aam ki peti, like a mango box. You open it and just like that, it has the grass inside, the hay inside. You remove that and then you reveal 2 shoes. Can you pick those 2 shoes? I'll just explain it. So it's got, thank you. Yeah.
तो बताओ इसमें क्या किया आपने?
So इसमें if you see, we got the whole gradient of a mango on the shoe, and then we went another step. If you see, some of the shoe is green here and yellow there. Back is green here, yellow there. And then if you flip the tabs open at the back, this will say kacha aam, and that if you flip the tab open will say pakka aam.
Okay.
Right? So you go the next level of distance. You don't just stop at कि यार मैंने तो print कर दिया gradient. वो भी काफी fascinating. अच्छा सा footbed बना दिया, put in a nice box. You go like the next level of like, let me give you a small if you know thing. Like something very interesting. So this was our first shoe. And the idea was that can we keep putting out such stories on shoes that you've not seen before that will truly appeal to your own upbringing or your own experiences as Indians, as our society. And that should fascinate you and make our Instagram, make our channel exciting, make our brand exciting. So today, by the way, Comet has 350,000 followers. And I think we can check the data, but the data I've seen is it is one of the most, I think the top 3 most engaged brands Instagram handles on India.
Wow.
Right? And when we put out a product, we will get like 10,000 likes or 12,000 likes, no money spent on it. But we will get 5,000-6,000 shares. And that is so hard for a product because the product is not a product anymore. It is a story. You are reacting because Instagram पे क्या चलता है? Stories चलती हैं. Right? Product थोड़ी ना चलता है. That's an ad. So आप product को conduit की तरह देख के, you're using it as a conduit to storytell. Right? And you're appealing to people in that sense. So if you think about it, sneaker culture, storytelling, and now how do you crack your distribution Instagram? It all makes sense. So it all made sense for us that you have to figure out your own distribution if you want to build a brand. It has to be aspirational and cool, which will happen if you create a fantastic product and then do really good storytelling on that product, right? The way we're doing these drops. And it has to be your Instagram to build a brand. You have to build your own community, your own customer base on your website. You have their data. They're talking directly to you on Instagram, on your DMs, on your comments. You are interacting with your customer yourself versus via marketplace, which you then can't. So, and then you're doing this for India, which is Indian emotions, right? And it all sort of connected for us. And this is how we started. And we put our faith in this strategy. When we launched Mango, drops in the US, people get lines, people putting alarms. When we launched Mango, in 3 days, we sold 2 shoes. But we did not give up on the strategy because the idea was we have to do this 5-6 times. Right now, people don't know you. They've not noticed you. But we have to make them notice us. So can we keep putting out products that are so different and unique? That will help. And the other thing we will do is we will put our brand front and center on the product. So if you see, all our shoes have a big shooting star. So shooting star is a comet. Comet is synonym for shooting star. And it's very fascinating why we named our brand Comet. We can talk about that separately. But so we realized when you go to a cafe and you see somebody wearing a Birkenstock, you can know it's a Birkenstock. And that makes you think I should also have a Birkenstock. Right? This is not just word of mouth. It's like power of sight. So we put our logo front and center that if you truly make a great product, very comfortable, great fit, great materials that people wear every day, and they will wear it every day also because it's a fascinating brand to wear every day and signal with. All of this works. Then you will start seeing it around you. And when you see it around you, it will be a shame if it's not marketing for you.
True.
A lot of people put their logo on the corner, on the side, while they're creating a brand, an aspirational brand. Because they feel like in the beginning, people will not adopt it because the logo is so big and prominent and nobody knows about the logo. But yes, go across that hurdle. Solve that hurdle because it's so important in the future that your logo does so much of your storytelling, like the logo of the crocodile on Lacoste. It has to be there because it is doing so much heavy lifting because that logo has been seen so many places.
Yeah.
So we did that and we banged on these 2 very important things that we will put out a lot of this, like this whole strategy on Instagram, and then people will start seeing our shoes here and there. And that should create a flywheel of adoption.
Understood. So why should you exist? Because you want to build aspirational, cool, attainable brand for India.
And create the sneaker culture that people are craving for.
Got it. And in a world that is full of noise, with the same product, with the same contract manufacturers, with the same distribution channels, you will have to build your own distribution that is unique to you.
Yeah.
And by own distribution, you don't mean Amazon. By own distribution, you mean how can you directly interact with your customers and not see them as a black box so that you can collect data, you can talk to them, understand them, and build a connection with them.
Exactly.
The way to go about doing that would be to tell an amazing story. And one of the best instruments to tell a great story is Instagram, where you don't just have a brand page, you have a page that can build a community for you. And that requires 2 things, storytelling and thumb-stopping products.
Yes.
In your case, the Kacham Pakam was a thumb-stopping product, which made people stop. Because in this world full of noise, you'll have to do something wildly different. You'll have to break the pattern, like making a thumbnail to make people stop.
Exactly.
And then ponder over your product. Because that's the exact same problem that we also face.
Yeah.
YouTube is flooded with content. There you'll have to do something so different. And in fact, you'll have to keep doing something different every 3 months because the moment there is a popular thumbnail, everybody else will also start copying it.
Yeah.
And then YouTube looks the same. So again, you'll have to make something pattern breaking, which makes people stop. Because unless they stop, they're not going to buy, right?
Yeah, they won't know about it.
Got it. Utkarsh, now tell me, before we get into the posts, first tell me what exactly is your strategy to crack Instagram, high level, and then we'll pick posts one by one and study and decode why did those particular posts do very well.
A lot of people take the strategy कि यार रोज डालो कुछ, put something every day. Why? If you don't have something to show to people, if you don't have something unique to tell people, why are you posting every day? The reason you should not do that is because the algorithm is going to keep punishing you. The algorithm is going to say, you have 50,000 followers, you are posting stuff, nobody's interacting with it, I'm not showing it to more and more people, and therefore every time it's taking out a bunch of people from your followers, from your reach, and not surfacing your posts also to them. So there's no point to just be like, just have frequency and quantity. Have frequency and quantity when you have something unique to tell people. So like when you look at YouTube, like Mr. Beast is putting out content every day. But every time he has something unique to show to people. He's not putting out content which is substandard ever. He's worked on a month, like for a content piece, he's worked for a month and then he's finally got it. And now he's like, I'm going to put this. Now he's like a machine though, who can put out content every day. But that's only happened with time. It's not like he was doing this in the beginning. A lot of brand social media strategists say, put content every day or every second day. It's very important. It's not important. I know for brand, you can Instagram this brand called Cotties. It is a fantastic streetwear brand out of the UK. Crazy cult following. They will post once in 4 months. And that post it'll blow up because people will be like, man, it's back. Something is back. Some new product is back. And it'll just blow up. Because that's what the value they provide on the Instagram society. So what our strategy is very simple. It's, I will not show you things you've seen before. I have two types of product in my portfolio. I have a core product, which a lot of those shoes we've had for 2 years. They make up most of our revenue. They will go on ads. They will not go on our Instagram because you've seen them. You know about them. There's nothing new I'm adding to your life. And then I have these drops, or I have these like designer special shoes that we do one-offs of, right? They're eclectic, unique designs on products. That is where we focus our Instagram primarily on, our organic Instagram. That is what builds chatter, breaks through the clutter, gives you some new information you've never seen before. Now, when we launch a product, we have a slight, I would not say formula, but a pattern of sorts. What we do is, by the way, it takes us 6 to 7 months to build out a drop. 3-4 months of designing, figuring out the story, figuring out the materials, prototyping, all of that. It's a long process. And then 3 months of it being manufactured. And that requires insane amount of oversight because we're doing some crazy stuff on these products, right? And then they finally reach us. And that's when we have to think about the proper way of marketing and putting it out there. So we already start with a story when I'm designing them. That I know this shoe is a mango shoe, obviously. I know what I'm making. But what will be the final marketing campaign? So the pattern that it tends to follow is you start with some kind of a teaser or an animation or some kind of a film that establishes the mood around the shoe.
But before we get to that, Utkarsh, my first question is, how do you decide on a particular design? Because design is very subjective.
Correct. Let's look at the
Do
orange
we have
shoe.
any of these shoes over here?
Yeah,
Orange shoe? Okay.
The first shoe we launched was a mango. And I honestly wanted to do a fruit again. And it had been 1.5, 2 years. And in the back end, we'd made a watermelon shoe with seeds on it and all of that. We'd done like a lot of interesting things. We made a jamun shoe, purple and very interesting. But it was never of that level where I would say, man, wow, what a shoe. Then one day, literally while eating oranges, we're in a design meeting. I was like, man, what would an orange shoe look like? And then we started thinking about it. And then this whole idea came that what if you could peel a shoe? What if you could, like an orange, like one of the most fascinating things about orange is like you peel it in your own hands. You don't use a knife and all of that, right? So this came from that. And the idea was, if I have to make an orange shoe and not just make it orange in color and have just this, print that sort of signals the orange, what is the next step I can take? So we went and found like this material which has the graining of an orange, if you see, small part. But the most important thing was, how do we peel a shoe off without damaging the second layer? And think about it. This is a technical thing. You have to put 2 shoes in one shoe. It's not as easy. Nobody in India had ever made this. We literally had to like first principally crack how would you make a shoe where 2 layers would come on a shoe and you would peel it off and it would be peelable and it would not peel the second layer and it would not destroy the structural integrity of the shoe and it can be made without many errors. And this is how we started the whole orange shoe DNA. And this is like what we came out with, that you could then peel it off. And then you go the whole way, right? You say, this is an orange shoe, but it should come in a shoe bag that is like the grocery wala bag. जब आप fruits लेते हो net वाला bag नहीं होता, उसमें आना चाहिए. Not in a normal shoe bag. So we went to a sourcer who makes grocery bags, not shoe bags. And we said, I want 800 of these, right? So we got those nets as the shoe bags and we tested them out that it should have like enough strength to take a shoe. And then we made a whole box that looks very beautiful, has the scent spray in it of the orange scent so that you get the whole vibe. Product is everything, right? It's not just the shoe, it's the package. It's like the whole unboxing experience and you get the whole thing. And then you have this like very fascinating shoe. So this was the story of the orange. The story of Scribble is slightly different.
But tell me something over here, Utkarsh. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, that's okay.
I want to understand, why is this a story worth telling? For example, if I'm wearing this shoe, what exactly am I trying to signal? Because when I'm wearing a Jordan, I'm signaling that I'm a Michael Jordan fan, and Michael Jordan has a fascinating story.
Yes.
If I wear something that Michael Jackson has worn,
Yes.
then I'm trying to signal the fact that I'm inspired by Michael Jackson.
Correct.
Now, if I were to compare Michael Jordan's story or the Chicago Bulls story with the orange peeling story, my question is, what are we trying to signal here?
So not every story is about association with a celebrity.
Got it.
I think that is very powerful, but I think it's a very expensive way of building a brand. You can do that. You know, like there are a lot of very fascinating people in our ecosystem who you would associate with, and it would be very like an aspirational shoe to wear. But you can also build coolness, talkability, all of that when you put something very fascinating on a product. What you're equipping someone with is not just a wow factor when they're looking at this on Instagram. Oh, wow, the shoe peels. Wow, it's like an orange. This is crazy. It's also, you go to a party and you show to someone, do you know my shoe peels? Do you know I peeled the shoe? Do you know, like, look at these threads. I can like take them off. This
So
is like
it's
an orange.
remarkability.
Yeah. And now your customers are marketing for you, no? And they have a way to talk about it. So it's like a two-way thing. I'm helping you, you're helping me. I've equipped you with something that you will feel cool about in your society when you wear it. Because it is, everybody's chasing uniqueness. There are a lot of people who are chasing uniqueness in their lives, especially when you're signaling, right? So it is an important part.
Utkarsh, I am pondering over the idea to understand what exactly is a signal worth signaling. For example, when it comes to a political revolution, let's say there is a deep sense of frustration in the society towards the politicians in the country. People would find all sorts of symbols to use as signals. For example, journalists who speak about rebellion will go viral. Speeches on rebellion will go viral. Rap songs, again, will go viral. So people tend to use these instruments to express something. And that expression is very, very powerful if it is a rebellion which is built on an underlying feeling of the society. Now, I'm trying to understand, where does this coolness factor actually play out? So I can imagine the expression of rebellion. I can imagine the expression of inspiration. And you're telling me that coolness is also an expression that people would like to signal at a party because it's remarkable. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I think we can decode what is cool.
Yeah, what is cool?
What is cool? It's such a lifelong, like, this question has also been fascinating for me. I think there are two types of cool. There's a passive cool and there's an active cool.
Okay.
A passive cool is when you see someone on a skateboard wearing headphones, dunking a basketball as a marketing campaign. That is cool by association of something that is, you know, we think skateboarding is cool, so now let me show you skateboarding, and now this is passive cool. This is not real cool. What is active cool? What is real cool? It is when you go and do something different that nobody expected you to do, and that makes you go, oh, that's cool.
Because people chase remarkability.
Ha, that's cool. ओ पूरे आईफोन में कीबोर्ड वो कीज हटा दिए, पूरा स्क्रीन, दैट्स कूल, दैट्स समथिंग न्यू, दैट्स डिफरेंट. तो आपने कुछ रिस्क ली, you took a risk and you did something so different, and now you're cool. So think about a person now. I dress differently. I have long hair as a guy with like a, let's say, a bun. I have tattoos. I am chasing cool by doing something different from what normally you expect someone to do. And I'm taking a risk while doing that. But I am trying to be cool, active cool. You could also be cool if you don't have to look that same cool. That just because you have tattoos doesn't mean you're cool, right? You could also do something that is like wildly different from everybody around you, as let's say a career path. Let's say you start writing poems and you love it and it's not expected out of you, and you are building your whole personality around it and you are truly pouring your heart and soul in it. You are cool.
Like going to abroad was cool.
Going abroad was cool because very few people would do it. So then you would do it, you would be cool because ye abroad gaya bhai. Right? So in the same way, we know people chase cool. Some people chase cool. And we have to be cool for them. And the way to be cool is to take that risk and do something that you've not expect.
So basically, we are all playing the game of thumb stopping each other.
Sort of. You know, I have a principle in my marketing team. We will never use a skateboard and a basketball to ever make this brand cool. We have never used a skateboard and a basketball at Comet. कि असली में cool बनाते हैं यार. मैंगो जूता बनाते हैं, ये बनाते हैं, स्क्रिबल बनाते हैं, कुछ ऐसा बनाते हैं जो लोग देख के बोले क्या बना दिया लोग ने. That is cool.
Understood.
When you make a store, the whole store looks like as if a comet has crashed into the store. It's all broken. Then when you enter, there are rocks suspended from the ceiling. Like it's a crash site. And the whole shelves are cracked. Now that is something you've never seen before. It's cool. And then I take you even deeper. I have a tree inside made of our shoes because the tree of life has come in after the comet crash. And you are in this space that you're like, man, what is going around me? What is happening? Then at the back of the whole store, which most people will miss, is the vault. It's a dark space, very dark, with like these lockers where all of these drops that have sold out are kept like a museum. It's a dead space in retail. Retail should never have dead spaces.
Yeah.
Basically things where you can't sell product, especially product that is out of stock. It's such a kuch dalo hi mat. Why are you putting things that I can't buy also? But this is where like you do something totally different because you're trying to storytell. You're trying to do something that is in the DNA of the brand that you're trying to build, which is cool, which is different.
Wonderful. Now, Utkarsh, I have an interesting question. Why can't other brands copy the exact same design as you? Because you're also going to a contract manufacturer. So we're back to the same supply chain, right? You're going to the contract manufacturer, and apart from distribution, on the outset, it looks like there's nothing unique about Comet apart from your conceptualization. So my question is, why can't somebody just copy the conceptualization?
You're right when you say that we're using contract manufacturers, but we have very deliberately from the start. So we started working on Comet in July 2022. We launched Comet in end of June 2023. We thought we would launch it in 3 months of starting to talk about it. We took a year because we realized this product is extremely technical. If you think about it, that's why most shoe brands that are successful are technical shoe brands.
Yeah.
And we are not a sports-oriented, performance-oriented brand, but product is still very technical if you want to differentiate. So today you can go to a plug-and-play system of manufacturers and get a product out from them in shoes. But you will end up with the same product that I was talking about in the beginning in the bottom right quadrant. Undifferentiated, commoditized, everybody has it. But if you want the differentiated product, you have to put in a lot of effort here because the supply is broken. So, number one, everybody told us, do not make your own soles. Do not invest in the tech of your sole molds. It is very capex heavy. It takes too much time. It is very technical and there are very few people in India who have the expertise of it.
But what is the benefit of having your own soles?
Control.
Of?
I have control over my product. I am not reliant on some sole manufacturer in Agra who is making soles for all these shoes that are selling in India for like 2,000 rupees, 1,500 rupees. That's the average selling price. The industry is catered towards that price point. So they are making these cheap soles. They mostly made of something called thermoplastic rubber, which is not even pure rubber. And they're making all of this. I have to then pick up that sole and attach it to my shoe.
But what is the problem with that?
I don't have control over exactly what the customer is feeling in terms of comfort, in terms of fit, in terms of consistency of the batches that are coming out, because I do not own the mold. I have not tested the mold. I have not tested the compound that's going into it, because I do not have control over that process at all.
But can't you get to a manufacturer who does it for Nike, Adidas, Decathlon and get soles from them?
No, they have every company worth their salt in footwear globally has their own sole molds. Only in India, I have not seen homegrown brands have their own sole molds. Every company has their own sole molds. That is why an expert company takes out very few models. A model comes once in a lifetime for Nike. 5 साल में एक नया model introduce हो
What do you mean by a model?
A fully new silhouette with its own new sole, own upper pattern, completely different, not a colorway. Like an Air Force One or a Nike Dunk, or if I go to like Zoom X or Vomero, or in Adidas if I go to Samba or Adi Zero, they're all models. And they all take a year, maybe more, to R&D the whole way out and then put out there. And it's a lot of time, effort, capex that goes into it. Only in India, कोई करता ही नहीं है, कोई कर ही नहीं रहा था. And हमें बहुत strong advice मिली थी, आप मत करो. Because why you first test the market out? First put out your product and see what people say. But my sense is like, if you truly want to test things out, you should be pure in your experiments. You should not be impure. You can't put half-baked products out there and say, I am an expert footwear brand that's come into the market and I will truly put my heart and soul in this shoe, but not give you a fully designed, fully tested out shoe. I can't be that person. So we launched with only one model. And it took us 8 to 9 months to develop that model, because it took us like 5 months to develop that sole. And we went through so many different molds, so much testing, so much R&D. Yeah, we have to crack this. We eventually we were doing things to enhance comfort. And we first principally started solving it. We took a full pure rubber outsole, really good for your traction, for abrasion, for surfaces, for environments. But rubber is not as comfortable. So usko humne hollow kar diya. And then I put sheets of foam inside it, which you can't see. And then I did very small, minor things. When you paste the sole to the upper, उसको एक normal thread से paste करते हैं, like sheet से. हमने उसको भी foam sheet बना दी. और उसके बाद insole आ गया. So, then you're going very deep into the product and you're understanding comfort कैसे होगा. And then now when you're playing with foam can over time squish, give way. Now you have to think about the density, the compounding, the testing of that compounding. It has to be tested for 6,000 cycles. And then you know exactly what my compounding is right or not. We did all of that. And then you have your own sole mold, your compound, you know exactly what you're giving. And you have to follow the same process on the upper. What materials are you using? We built our own material supply chain. So today, the contract manufacturers that we work with, our supply is very interesting. It's all broken into different steps. It's designed in my office. It's developed in a different sampling room that we own. Then when it's developed, it has its own material market that it's tapped into, which the contract manufacturers don't know about. Then it's developed using that. So we've built our own material supply chain. Then we take that product and we give it to the contract manufacturer and we tell them which materials to order from where, because we have identified them, they have not. It's our design. If they're not able to make it, we fly down people from Korea, from Taiwan, from China to develop that skill set. We've done this 4-5 times. And they're very happy to, because the ecosystem is learning. And we're very happy that we have a partner who wants to learn. So we are learning with them and they're learning with us. And then you come to a stage where now you have a product that you've built together, but with a lot of our control on it, our sole molds, our material supply chain, our development, our design, right? And then we have
a team of 3 people that live in the factory on our payrolls. They do QC. They solve all the development issues that the factory will have. They live with them. They are like, you don't see that in factories. Generally, you just give to a contract manufacturer and you receive the product. We problem solve together, right? And now you have this ecosystem built. That's why it's so rare that, like, we made a beautiful ice cream shoe. We made a beautiful Naru shoe. Technically, you should start seeing such products come out from other brands, but they're not coming out. Because the amount of effort we're putting into product is next level. Both me and Dishant, we make sure Dishant spends 60% of his week on product. I make sure that I spend 40 to 50% if I truly have to. If I don't, I feel bad in that week. That why didn't I spend almost 40 to 50% of my week on just product? Because that is the bread and butter of this company. If you think about it, product is only making our Instagram. Product is only making like our word of mouth. Product is only making this whole brand. Why do we exist as product? But product is not just the tech of it, it's also the storytelling, it's also the uniqueness, it's also the comfort and fit. नहीं तो कोई पहनेगा ही नहीं, कभी दिखेगा ही नहीं आपको.
So you're saying that whenever you work with a contract manufacturer, on the outside it might look like you're going to the same contract manufacturer as others, but what can help you differentiate, even though you're going to a contract manufacturer, is the amount of effort that you put in with the contract manufacturer to ensure that the product is high quality. You can't be like order and ghost. You'll have to order, work with them, build a partnership, and then churn out high quality products. In fact, interestingly, this is exactly what Siddharth from Snitch told me.
Yeah.
He said that it's never been easier to start a fashion brand and harder to sustain one.
Yes.
And the differentiation, he told me, was the amount of effort that you put in with the contract manufacturer to ensure that you get a high quality batch. In fact, in fast fashion, because things are changing very, very fast, most people would be okay with low quality products. But with Snitch, they try to optimize as much as possible for the cost that they're charging the customers to give them the highest quality possible.
Yeah.
And that, he told me, only happened when he worked with the contract manufacturer day in and day out to even help them problem solve, sometimes help them fetch a technology so that they can make great products for them. Utkarsh, I want to quickly double tap on the economics. Can you help me understand your unit economics and how did you decide to price your product? Because I've been studying pricing a lot lately and I've understood, especially after my performance marketer told me that you need to price your products higher, and then he did some math which on the Excel sheet looks very fascinating. Ever since then, I've been reading about pricing a lot to understand how do you price your product right. If you price it lower, you're losing money.
Yeah.
If you price it higher, you're losing customers.
Yeah.
Now, for a brand like Comet, if I'm not wrong, I think you entered the market with the price of 4,300 rupees?
Yeah, 4299.
4299. My question is, how did you arrive at 4299?
So, it's a very good question. Price is one of the biggest determinants of what you're selling because it is also signaling what you're selling, right? So, there are two ways of looking at it. Customer first and cost first. And we have to look at both. When I look at customer first, what I see is the average selling price on Myntra at that point was about $2,000, and Myntra is the more premium marketplace out there versus, let's say, Flipkart and stuff, right? So the most aspirational stuff that was selling was for $2,500. So 4,000 sounds very high versus that. On the other hand, you had these global brands that were selling for 10,000 plus. So if you want to position your brand as aspirational and yet be attainable, then the number becomes somewhere between 3 to 5, 3 to 6. And we have to think in that zone. And we thought about it as my philosophy is that the first digit of the pricing makes up 90% of your decision. 3 hai, 4 hai, 5 hai, 6 hai. The second digit will make up the remaining 8% of your decision. And the last two digit will be like 1-2%. वो matter ही नहीं करता actually. Actually 9.99% second digit ही है. Last two digits matter ही नहीं करते. At this thousands के range में. Obviously 50s के range में will matter. So we decided on 4 because we thought it is still attainable, yet it has crossed over into the aspirational category of pricing. कि a 4,000 rupee price signals to a customer कि यार product में कुछ तो दम होगा. Brand में कुछ तो होगा. It won't just be like some 2,500 rupee, 3,000 rupee, which is very close to it, commoditized stuff. There is a jump that you have to make. then you have to look at it from a cost perspective.
Correct.
At this price point, what can I offer? Is this good enough or not? Right? And we realized that at 3,000, 3,500, we were not able to make a product which would have good gross margins with the stuff we wanted to do.
Walk me through that journey from COGS, gross margin, to your selling price.
So
Did you go from COGS to the selling price, or did you come back from the selling price to the...
it's literally like a parallel discussion.
Okay.
So we are making the product on the side and we're thinking about the pricing. And when we're making the product, we are realizing 3,000 तो price नहीं कर सकते हैं इसे.
कैसे decide किया वो?
वो product का COGS जो हम बना रहे हैं product, the product that I believe the Indian market requires and needs cannot sell for 3,000 because my gross margin will go under 50%, probably 40%.
In this market, what's a healthy gross margin to have?
I think 55 to 65% you have to aim for. Today, even a mature company like Nike operates at 60%, somewhere around there.
Tell me something. If somebody today is trying to understand the right price for the market, should they always look at industry average of gross margins and then reverse engineer their pricing?
I think they should honestly start from pricing from a customer perspective on what they're offering, what a customer would therefore be willing to pay, and then trace back to, can my cost actually work with this gross margin?
But that is also so difficult to figure out, because when you're looking at Myntra with an AOV of 2,000 rupees, you're looking at 2,000 rupees for watches, shoes, clothes, everything put together, right? Now, during that time, it's very hard to gauge the signal and separate it from the noise to understand what would be the average order value for sneakers, and that too for a new brand.
Yeah.
And that too with the value addition that you want to provide.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Walk me through your process.
My process was that I saw the customer and I said, I want an aspirational pricing here that allows me to create a product that they truly require. Honestly, it was that. And I shuffled between 3, 4, and 5 as my first digit. Because the second digit, like I said, is 9%, let's say. First digit is 90%. So is it a 3,000 product, 4,000 product, or 5,000 product? And when I started making the product, I realized it can't be a 3,000 product. And when I started thinking about the customer, I realized it cannot be a 5,000 product if I want to scale and get adoption on the day one.
So you said no to 3,000 because the cost of manufacturing would be very high, and you would be left with very less gross margins.
Yeah.
And you said no to 5,000 because you thought the customer may not be willing to pay 5,000 rupees and hence 4,000 rupees.
That's correct.
So essentially, when somebody is looking at pricing, they'll have to strike a perfect balance between COGS and customers' expectation and willingness to pay.
Yes.
Okay. In your case, it was neither 3 nor 5, so 4. Okay. Got it. Yes. This is coming from a LSE student, guys. So if you're thinking this way, it's not primitive. That's just how people think.
I'm telling you, pricing can be vibes. Because at the end of the day, when a customer is evaluating something, they're also thinking slightly of vibes. You know, 4,000, kya feeling aa rahi hai? 5,000, yeah, thoda zyada ho gaya. You know, so you have to put yourself in the feet of the customer.
Understood. So 4,000 rupees ho gaya. During that time, what was your COGS? Because here's where there's another confusion.
Correct.
When my MOQ, when my minimum order quantity is just 1,000, my COGS are like 40, 50% of the selling price. But it feels like we can always bring down the COGS as we scale from 40 to maybe 30%. But Deepak from DSG told me that you die with the gross margins that you're born with. So always figure out your gross margins and then enter the market.
I think it's a very good insight. I don't think costs fall as dramatically as people think on the product. Especially if it is a differentiated product. If you are selling a standardized product, then generally standardized products enter a lot of pricing pressure from the industry standpoint. क्योंकि सब लोग वही बना रहे हैं, तो अब my factory as an individual factory starts entering into pricing pressure. And therefore that gets all the way to the bottom. But when you build a differentiated product, and therefore the factory also has some power, because hey, you have worked with me for 3 years, we have knowledge transferred the whole thing out, and now I am also value to you. How much lower can I go on my price without you jumping ship?
Because even they would want to keep their margins.
Yeah, they want to keep their margins.
Because your cost going down is actually a function of the manufacturer losing out on the margin.
Exactly. And inflation bhi hai. There, they also have to pay their labor more and more every year. Material costs are rising every year, right? So now economies of scale are well and good, and they do help your gross margin. But if you have a differentiated product, the cost of switching is very high. I will have to find a new factory and do the whole process again of knowledge transfer, because it's not as easy as plug and play. So therefore, there is some pricing power that your manufacturer also has. And therefore, the cost does not go down as much. You will start saving a lot of money on your CM1 cost, which is basically your logistics cost, your warehousing cost, your shipment costs, because that in bulk really starts giving you benefits. But on gross margin, it is possible that you live and die with it. Also because your costs might not move as much, and you will eventually come under pricing pressure also from a customer perspective. It will happen.
Is it safe to assume that you must look at the industry's gross margins, and no matter how much your MOQ costs you, you must optimize for gross margins according to industry standards? For example, if an MOQ costs you 2,000 rupees to manufacture a shoe, and let's say the industry says you need to have a 50% gross margin, you will have to start selling the product at 4,000 rupees from day one.
4,000 plus GST.
4,000 plus GST on day one. Is this safe to assume, Utkarsh?
Yes.
Okay. Utkarsh, now I want to come to the most exciting part of the podcast, which is community building. You guys have a fan base. People lining up outside your store. That's a dream come true for any founder. And like I said, you turned a commodity into a badge of honor, because of which you had 200 people lining up outside your store. My question is, how do you build that community? And if an entrepreneur is watching this, how can they implement that framework to build a cult following for their brand?
If we take a step back, we have the 4 P's of marketing: product, price, promotion, place. And we spoke about these 4. Product, differentiate on the product, put some interesting value on it that nobody else is able to provide. Price, give them a price that people get excited about, but still use it as a way of signaling what you're actually trying to sell. Promotion is wherever you're selling, then figure out what kind of marketing strategy would optimize for that distribution. In our case, we optimized how Instagram will work, and therefore how our own distribution channels would function. Place, build your own distribution, or figure out wherever you're distributing, you have an edge on that distribution. I want to add a 5th P, which is people. Now, technically, there is a people in the 7 Ps of marketing, but that people is outward from a company. I will allocate people to this problem or that problem and this problem, and it's more about the human capital of a company. I think the people that companies need to think about are their customers and how they can market for you. And how do you enable them, almost give them ammunition to go and battle for you outside, right? And that, like people say, right, word of mouth is the biggest marketing tool out there. How do you give them all the ammo to create the word of mouth? What we did from day one was that firstly, we interacted with people one-on-one. Because of Instagram, we have all the customer database. They DM us, they comment, and we reply. For the first 8 to 10 months of this brand, I replied on almost all Instagram DMs myself. So even till today, when somebody DMs on Instagram, my phone gets a notification just like my WhatsApp does. And I look at them. And sometimes I'll reply if I have time, or my team will reply. But our marketing team replies on our Instagram DMs. There's no customer support team that's using the Instagram DMs to reply. So it's so important that you're talking to your customers as if they're people, and not as if like they're some entities who are purchasing from you, right? Talk to them as if you would talk to them. Let's say if you were in a store, they're in my store, and I was standing there and they came with a question. If you were standing there, I would just talk to you normally, right? I'll be like, bro, try this shoe. This is a very cool shoe. Or like something like that. Like not, hey, thank you for reaching out to us, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, talk to them like people. The other thing we did was we built up this habit in the eyes of customers to get social validation. It's like social currency, right? We spoke about how shoes are used for signaling in their friend circles in your society. In the same way, can we equip our Instagram to be a tool for their social validation? So what ends up happening is a lot of people put stories when they buy new things, or when they, they're like out and about, they're putting up stories. Very few people tag the brands that they wear. But in our case, a lot of people tag the brand themselves. Why? Because we also reshare some of those stories on our Insta handle. And our Insta handle is an engaged Insta handle with a lot of cool quotient on it, or an aspirational quotient on it. So people feel happy that Comet is listening to me. It's a two-way interaction. It's not just me buying their product and putting up a story. They're also happy that I am wearing their product, I am styling their product, I am in their product. And we are happy, that's why we're resharing it. That builds up a flywheel. Oh, Comet reshares my stories. Let me put up more stories. Some other person will be like, let me put up stories. And now you have content that's being created by people who are associating themselves to the brand deeper and deeper and deeper, right? The other thing to think about is the adoption curve of a product, of a brand. There are early adopters, there are late adopters, there are laggards that come right at the end. And when you're starting, you of course have early adopters. But like within 1.5, 2 years, you have people from all over in your adoption curve. So why? Like, they don't have to be customers. But there is somebody in the late adoption curve who knows about Comet, has never bought a shoe, has a top of funnel awareness of Comet, but they don't understand truly what Comet is. What are we selling? So a lot of people today will discover these drops and discover the story for the first time, even though they must have been aware of the brand Comet, right? So they're in a slightly deeper, farther off adoption phase. But what is our focus? Our focus is take your early adopters and convert them into cult followers. Take people in this adoption curve who truly bat for you, who truly become those people. And therefore, you have to give them things that they want that are different from everybody else. Only that is how you can tell them, I'm rewarding you.
So celebrate your early adopters. How do you celebrate your early adopters apart from resharing the story?
So one of the things we do is our drops are extremely sought after, right? People put alarms for them. So right now, our drop launch strategy, the way it works is, in general, it's one drop a month. And on a particular Wednesday at 6 p.m. it launches. From Monday to Wednesday, we will market it, not put money behind it. It's only on our Instagram. And then at Wednesday, 6 p.m. it launch. And people will put alarms at 6 p.m. and by 6:15, almost all of it will sell out. So from 6 to 6:10, you will see like 60-70% of it sold out. And now only size 7 is left. Size 6 is left. So people keep coming on the website and they're like, oh, my size is gone. And therefore, it takes like another 20-30 minutes for it to sell out. And within an hour, mostly all our drops sell out. That is the demand of the drops. For all our existing customers, we open it up a day before.
So give them privilege.
Yeah, you have rewarded us by being our adopters. I will reward you back by giving you access to something nobody else can get. And therefore, you don't have to take the fight and put the alarms and I figure out this at 6 p.m. and have the anxiety about it if you truly want it. You have a full day to think about what you want, if you want it, and you buy it. When we have any event at our store, a launch at a store, or a store opening itself, we've had 5 stores open. 3 have had store opening events: Delhi, Bangalore, and Ahmedabad. In all 3, 200 plus people have lined up before the gates have opened. And this has all been done organically in marketing. We using our WhatsApp and using our Instagram stories because we have everybody's data and they're our community. So you've sent them, by the way, we're opening a store in a city, please come. So 200 people have now come. There's a separate line for anybody who shows up in Comet shoes. It's like the Indigo fast forward. You get to board early. You don't have to wait in line with everybody else. You have already rewarded us. We love you back. Enter the store before everybody else does. Small things like that go a long way. But it's not that we are just, in those 200 people, it's not that we're just concerned about those 50 people or 70 people who've come in Comets. We also care about the remaining 150 a lot. So when you have interacted with us, how do I make you feel like you belong? I have to become a hospitality company. As a customer, it is generally in a restaurant or a 5-star hotel that they made you feel so special. And you remember that moment and you go and tell your friends, dude, you have to go to that restaurant. It is fantastic. Or that hotel is beautiful. because hospitality is the best way of making somebody feel special. So when people are in line, we will always partner with a restaurant nearby, with a drinks company, and ensure even if they're standing in the sun, they get something to eat, they get drinks. Our marketing team will be there and they will interact with everybody as if like, hey bro, like thanks for waiting. Where are you coming from? All of that. You're not entities. You're not like just people who've come in to line up. You are becoming part of our community. We want to welcome you. Welcome to Comet, right? I remember when we opened our first store in Indiranagar, we did not expect so many people to line up. This is the first time we're opening a store and like 200 people are in. And we have so many people from our team trying to service everybody in the store. And the store, by the way, like I made such a beautiful store. And when I looked at that store, when it was full of people, it looked like a fish market. And on one hand, I'm thinking, wow, what a beautiful store. On the other hand, I'm like, man, what does this look like? But what a great place to be in because there are so many people here. But at that point, I was not feeling the positive of all of it. I was feeling the pressure, the anxiety. There are so many people who are waiting outside. There are 20 people who are waiting at the point of sale to just check out the product. And they're just waiting. And I remember I was standing there and I have like these 4 boxes in my hand trying to like service customers myself. And I looked across the room and in this point of sale line, there was this guy standing and you could see like he was visibly upset, tired. He had waited outside for probably 30 plus minutes and has now come in, tried the shoe somehow, like fought his way through it. And then finally standing in line with the shoe and is taking 20 more people to like go through and then he gets his shoe. It's not a great experience. And I'm looking at him and I literally like looked at him and I said, bro, I'm so sorry. And he instantly looked at me and said with a smile, it's your first store, chill man. And at that point, like all this pressure just like relieves itself. You know, it's like this burden just fell. I'm like, this guy just like the way he responded. And that is community.
I think you've very well described Howard Schultz's 5 principles of turning ordinary into extraordinary. The 5 principles are make it your own, optimize for delight, leave a mark, go the extra mile, and be compassionate. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, Utkarsh, I'm going to give you a problem statement.
Okay.
I'm going to give you a completely different product and help me apply this framework to that product.
Okay.
Let's take Veeba sauce.
Okay.
They sell sauces. How would you create the same experience for the customers of Veeba? Yeah. They don't have their own store.
Yeah.
They're distributed across maybe 20,000 stores across the country. Yeah. As a brand, how would you create delightful moments for your customer at scale?
It's a very good problem statement. I think there are 2 routes that a brand like this can take right up front, and then we can deep dive into it. And I'm also thinking about it as I speak. I think the first route is you go hard into culture building and community building with your product.
Okay.
That will require you to take multiple different steps to what most FMCG brands take. There is a very good example in Bombay of a restaurant called Drink, DRNK, right? Very young people who run it, fantastic people.
Yeah.
And they have taken that small restaurant into a full community.
Yeah.
Right? It is about those people being there, those people putting like music in, really good vibe, and then going deeper into content creation of like this whole coolness around it, right? It's a very nice place to be in to differentiate from so many beverage restaurants out there.
Yeah.
Now, do you want to do something like this? Prime did this with their drinks, which was KSI and Logan Paul's energy drink brand, right? It was less about the flavor and the drink itself. It was more about who's drinking it, where are you seen drinking it, where is it stocked, right? Which podcast will it be kept next to? Which creator will it be kept next to? And therefore, you could potentially take that culture building route and go very different here. So now your sauces could be seen in a lot of like these food shows, but also with very contrarian creators who are not in the food space, right? Like if you've seen this podcast of the hot wings, where the guy eats wings and they're putting so many sauces, like could you do something like that with your sauces, right? And like literally put them part of like a content but cultural experience that gets people excited and brainstorm more on that path. Right now it's interesting and cool as content and has more personality to it that's beyond product. So now this could be one way of doing it. The other way is you forget the on ground, the associations and all of that, because that takes the brand into a very different space for a brand like a sauce company. And you lean in heavy into storytelling of the sauces. So if you think about it, Whole Truth also has a community. It is not a physical on ground community, but it is people batting for it everywhere. Whoever consumes it. I consume their whey isolate powder, and I will go and tell everybody if they're like whey protein kaun sa lena hai, Whole Truth lena hai. I will go and tell people because I love the product. I love what he tells me about the product. Now you could take a very different route here and you could then say, I am going to go deeper into a particular part of my storytelling, which I believe resonates with my product DNA, my brand DNA. And I'm going to put my message out so hard that everybody rallies around that message. Right? Now I don't know what that would be for a sauce company. Honestly, don't understand that space very well.
Let me throw some ideas and you tell me if this makes sense. What if Veeba partners with some of the most famous restaurants in Mumbai to curate a dish that can be very easily made, but it's undiscovered, and partner with maybe brands like Drink and make that dish and roll that out as the Veeba sauce dish
Yeah.
or Veeba's 3 specials.
Yeah.
And they can order one of those dishes because once the customer has that dish,
Yeah.
they will know that it can be prepared very well at home. And again, it has to be a limited drop.
Yeah.
In the sense that today in Mumbai, in every famous restaurant like Fuzzy Cafe or Drink, you will get these 3 Veeba specials. Yeah. So people will actually find a reason to go to that particular restaurant. Yeah. They'll order for the Veeba dish and they'll also order something else apart from that, which gives the restaurant a lot of business, gives people a reason to go out to discover something, and then it'll be spoken about in circles, which eventually will lead to more people going there. And in about 30 days, that dish must disappear and a YouTube video must go out saying, how can you make this dish at home?
Yeah.
And everybody else who could not be a part of that movement can actually use Veeba sauce and make that dish and then enjoy that experience.
I think it's a fantastic idea. I would do that. So I've started seeing a bunch of people do this. Very interestingly, slightly different, but Subco does this. Where if you go to a very nice bar or a nice cafe that is not Subco. For example, there's a very nice restaurant in Goa called Greenhouse. When you go there, it says caffeinated by Subco. And there's a Subco beans being supplied there and the coffee machine is Subco. So what you have done there is via association in a very nice place. You have put your brand out there and you have basically used social proof to elevate your brand and to put it in the eyes of people that the restaurant like this uses Subco for their beans, therefore it must be a good coffee company.
Yeah, just like Forest Essentials partners with all the 5-star hotels.
Exactly.
Like Leela and Oberoi to say that, you know what?
Exactly.
If Leela has picked us, if Mr. Oberoi's company has picked us, then we are definitely good.
Exactly.
Okay. Utkarsh, my second last question to you is, if somebody decides to enter this business, what are the biggest traps that they must avoid?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I would say, number one, something that we spoke about right now is do not deviate from your why do you exist. If you have a core ethos of why you started the brand, why you started the company in the first place, do not deviate from it and take choices that will impact you in the long run in favor of your short run. Because there will be so many signals thrown at you, so many decisions thrown at you, that it is going to be very simple to chase that short-term validation and immediately forget that why did you even start this in the first place? What was the gap in the market, right? So that is number one. Number two is I would really make it a people business and not think of customers as entities. I think that is extremely, extremely important. Remember, if somebody is paying their hard-earned money to buy something that you have started, you owe something to them, right? You owe them a lot more satisfaction than just the product that they have received. So go out of your way to do that. On that particular point, number 3 is go out of your way and do non-scalable things as often as you can if you think they're the right things to do, right? Do not just optimize for process. Process can sometimes just kill companies. And especially if you are a startup, process is not always required everywhere, right? Like we have had people reach out to us ki, oh, my box came a little broken and I love the box. And we will then send them a new box and we put a t-shirt in it and we'll put a note card. And this could happen so many times in a month. And when you're doing logistics for so many orders in a month, this is a distraction. But it is not. Literally, like you're doing things that really make your customers into proper promoters for your brand. So
It's a distraction if you treat your customers as entities.
Exactly.
But it's a delightful moment that you're shipping, which is far more valuable.
Yes. The fourth thing I would say, and this is something that we say a lot in our company, is God is in the details. So the phrase goes, devil is in the details. And that is, the phrase comes from like, if you go start pondering too much into something, you will always find something you'll be unhappy about. But flip it. And you know, the Zorawar Kalra example you were giving me, God is in the details. Do not stop at 80. Go all the way. Not just in product, but in everything that you do. Go and ask the nth level of question and see if it's happening or not. And it is exhausting. It is so exhausting. As founders, like I will be asking for the smallest things in the company, and now my entire company has that DNA. Ask the nth level of question. You want to serve fries in the line? What will it come in? How will you maintain the temperature? Where will you keep it? How will people wipe their hands after that? Where will they dispose of the fries? This is just fries in the line of a launch where so many things have to happen. But we have to solve the fries journey out. The God is in the details. I think that is a trap that people get into quite a lot because you think, yeah, itna kyun dene ki zarurat hai, itna mat socho. And the last thing I would say is make extraordinary. Do not make ordinary. Do not make commoditized. Do not make standardized. Create something that is extraordinary, and people will automatically notice you for who you are. The distribution channels in the world today are fantastic. You can get to everybody if you want, and they will notice you are doing something extraordinary.
My last question to you is, how did you come up with the name Comet?
So both me and my co-founder are space nerds. And the first thing I shouted was Comet. And it just hit at that point. But then we went very deep into it because we're nerds.
And God is in the details.
Yeah. So if you think about it, in the grandest stage of all, which is space, universe, and you look at your solar system, every object does the same thing again and again with so much monotony. The sun, the planets, the moons, it's clockwork with no deviation. And out of nowhere comes a comet from outside the solar system and goes on its own journey, creates a shooting star in the sky. From civilizations like in the past have looked up and said, you know, what is this? Because it changes the whole map of the sky, which they have understood so well. But what is this streaking shooting star? And it fills with them with awe. They make wishes, all of that. And we believe like us as a brand, we are like a comet that has come into this like space of behemoths, and we are disrupting at the grandest scale like a comet is. Then we want people to be like that, who wear Comet. We want you to go and take that risk. Be cool. Be different. Go and take that risk. Be like a comet. So that's how the name Comet came. That's why our logo is a shooting star.
That's amazing, man. Thank you so much for being here. I've had such a wonderful time talking to you. And this is amazing because I was able to draw so many parallels to all the legends that I've heard about, that I've spoken to. And, they say that good is imperative, but greatness is a choice. But very few people decide to make that choice. And I'm so happy that you're one among them. Thank you so much. And I'll be one of those people rooting for you.
Thank you, Ganesh. This was such a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.